If you've ever felt that your external reality is chaotic or that things are not happening the way you want them to, whether it's in your business, in your life, in your health, and you've wondered how you can realign yourself and find ways to feel more purposeful and meaningful in what you do and find ways to recenter your focus and attention. In today's episode, I'm going to share the strategies that I've used to create calm while there's chaos. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Musicians Creating Prosperity podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Fabiana Claure. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about how to create calm in moments of chaos, how to find points of reconnection, meaning, and intention, so that even though things outside of your control, things that may feel too big to handle, whether they are things that are happening in the country, in the world, in your city, in your surrounding environment, and things that may feel that are sometimes chaotic, how you can find inner ways of grounding yourself and finding the purpose behind what you do and seeing how, even though you may not be able to fix everything or to influence everything in the way you would want to, especially as it relates to bigger problems, world problems, violence, wars, things that happen externally that can always impact our perspective and make us feel sad and disappointed. Sometimes there's losses, sometimes there's frustrations, there's shock. It's really important that as creative beings that we are, and if you're in my podcast, you're listening to this podcast, chances are you have a gift, you have something that can provide happiness, beauty, enrichment, community, belonging, connection. Because as musicians, creatives, we have developed a craft that helps people feel happy, helps people find ways to communicate with each other, to create emotional connections that transcend boundaries, that transcend language, even that transcend geographic limitations or economic limitations. Any sort of boundary is blurred because music unites us. Music is a beautiful art form. Music is the universal language that can help transmit happiness, thrill, sadness, joy. It can help us shift into a variety of energetic frequencies, not only because of the power that music has, but also because of the energetic frequency through which the different tones that we can produce in music can create in our own inner beings. I mean, as performers and composers, creators, we can feel things that come through us through music. And of course, the audience around us can also feel things, right? It's a language of emotion, of feeling. And the reason why I'm sharing this podcast today is because sometimes there are moments in our lives where we feel like the world is falling apart, whether it's wars, whether it's chaos, violence, things that feel so heartbreaking, right? It can feel sometimes overwhelming to think, what could I do to improve? What is my role in this moment? And in this episode, I really want to share with you how you can reconnect with your role. And even though you may feel that you're just a grain of sand in a huge ocean, and even you may feel that you couldn't possibly change anything or improve everything or fix the things you would like to, if you can understand how powerful your meaningful intentionality in your work and in the things you do and the way you show up, if you can tap into that sense of clarity and purpose and meaning, then one by one, you will find ways to help make the world a better place. You will find ways to contribute to those closest to you. And by extension, those people who you lift up will lift others up. And even though you may not see that ripple effect directly, if you commit to finding the meaning, the true purpose of what you love to do, what you're here to do, and looking for ways to make a better impact and spread more awareness and access to your skills, to your gifts, to your solutions, then every person that you interact with, that you show up and serve and make a difference for, will also create that for their own communities, and it will extend into a ripple effect, like a wave. You know, like when you throw a stone into the water and it just goes boom, 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 and it jumps into many different waves. That's really what can happen when you recognize that you may not be able to fix everything around you, but you can absolutely tap into what you can, how you can help initially, even if it's in your family unit, right? And so if you are right now working in a way where you feel you're just surviving and you're just kind of going day by day, chances are you're focused too much on the doing, right? The productivity, the results, the actions, the building, the creative, and you're in this mode of building all the time. And when you are creating and building, it's important that you ask yourself and remind yourself, what is the reason for that building? What is the purpose of what you're creating? What is the bigger vision that you have behind what you're doing? And you may not be able to find that sense of meaning and purpose in everything you're doing right now. In fact, if you're like most of the musicians that I talk to on a regular basis, chances are there are things that you're doing right now that feel disempowering, that feel like a burden, that feel like you're just doing it because you need to survive, but it's not really what you want to do. Maybe you have a studio with students that are not really appreciating you, or you're burned out in the way you're working or teaching one-to-one lessons and many hours of the day. I speak with so many musicians who really share the frustrations of the time limitations that they have, specifically with students wanting to learn music only in the after hours times between 4 o'clock and 8 p.m., therefore causing many music teachers to have to miss that window of opportunity of being with their families at dinner time and all those things, bedtime. You may feel that right now your schedule is not the way you would want it to be. The way you're working is not what you want. And it may be hard to find that sense of meaning and belonging and purpose in what you're building. And therefore, when external things happen beyond your immediate day-to-day activities like wars or violence or politic chaos or whatever it is, it can feel like everything is just falling apart, right? And this is why you having mechanisms to ground yourself and to be able to center your focus and your purpose and your meaning is going to help you stay afloat and actually improve your immediate circle, and by extension, improve everyone else's circle. Hey, quick pause here. If you are a musician, music educator, or creative entrepreneur who's built a successful business, I need to ask you something. Do you feel trapped by your own success? Maybe you have steady clients, consistent revenue, maybe even a team, but you're working more hours than ever. You can't take time off because everything depends on you. You've become the bottleneck in your own operation. Sound familiar? Here's the truth. You're not failing, you're just succeeding without the right systems. The skills that got you here aren't the same ones that you need to scale. I know because I've been there. I founded my music academy in 2011, and by 2016, I had built the systems to manage it completely remotely on autopilot. That success led to my online business, which replaced my university salary and gave me the freedom to build a lifestyle business on my own terms. I've also helped countless musicians around the world do the exact same thing, win back their time while exponentially scaling their income on their own terms. That's why I'm hosting my free Autopilot Your Music Business Masterclass to show you exactly how you can do this too. Go to musiciansprofitmasterclass.com and secure your spot right now. Imagine having the freedom to focus on what you love the most while your business thrives on autopilot. That's exactly what we'll build together. Now, back to today's episode. So here's how I would encourage you to think about this process. Even though you may have some areas of your life where you're very excited, you have some sense of meaning, connection, you feel like you're doing what you're meant to do, you may have other areas of your life where you're not. That can be a season, that can be a phase, that can be a stepping stone to something else. I mean, we all go through that, right? When we're learning a new piece of music, when a new art form, a new work, we have to start in the beginning phase, and it's not going to sound beautiful from the beginning. We have to learn it, decodify it, master it through repetition, through discipline, through strategy, and eventually it starts becoming more flowing, more easeful, and more beautiful. Same thing happens in our life. There may be things right now that you are in the building phase, the creating phase, and it doesn't yet give you that feeling of rewarding fulfillment, belonging that I've been mentioning. Yet they are going to be stepping stones for you getting to that stage, as long as you are happy with the direction that you are headed, even if it's not yet where you want to be. But for example, if you are thinking about creating a schedule where you have different times to connect with your students, or you can choose to work in the morning hours because you teach online and you don't need to limit yourself to your local time zone students and you have more flexibility, or you want to change your income stream, not to have to depend only on gigging, especially if that gigging requires you to show up late in the evenings and have to be performing and traveling and being away from your home, right? And you wanted to explore a different way to diversify your income streams or diversify the way you work. Or maybe you are working with a certain level of clients, but you know that as you reinvent yourself, reinvent your business, you may want to expand to a different population, a different group of clients. So everything can be seen as a phased approach towards your eventual true fulfilled structure for your business and for your life. Same thing happens in other areas, not just business. It can happen with your health, right? The way our muscles are developed is by pushing them out of their comfort, and there's a element of regrowth that needs to happen after the initial, pushing yourself to the limit with, lifting weights or kind of strength training, and developing that muscle will only happen when you push yourself to the very limit. And then you have to regenerate the tissue and then grow stronger. I mean, everything that involves growth and ascension to some extent involves getting yourself into a place of like limitations, getting yourself to that limit, right? So if you are looking at your existing way, the way you're working, the way your life looks, and you're seeing that even though you may not be happy with what you have immediately, you can see the vision of where it's going and what you're creating. And that vision, that idea, that goal that you're putting in there excites you and makes you feel like it's going to be not only rewarding for you, not only hopefully financially rewarding and freeing for your schedule, for yourself, for your family, but also impactful for your students, for your clients, for everyone that is going to use that service, benefit from your knowledge, benefit from your skills. So if you are in that trajectory that you can see where you're headed and you love that vision, then it's just a matter of being patient and being able to say, I'm at a building stage right now. And we go through stages in business, right? There are many ways where sometimes when we're building, we have to be very involved. But then as we continue scaling our businesses, we can let go, build more systems, delegate, etc., and transition into becoming more autonomous and more independent, and even have things that are running without us in autopilot. However, if you are right now working very hard and feeling burned out, feeling that what you're building is not what you really want, and even if that thing you're doing continues to develop and grow and strengthen and optimize, even if that vision of what you're doing even in an optimized way is not what you really want to do, then that is a very important way to actually be okay with pausing, be okay with saying, maybe I should not continue in this direction. Maybe I need to find something that pushes me to move through the uncomfortableness because I'm so excited about the direction, right? I can see that light at the end of the tunnel. It excites me, it motivates me. And therefore, I'm okay going through whatever necessary hurdles I may have to go through right now because I'm clear on where I'm headed. And I love that picture. I love that vision, right? And that's a question that you're going to need to ask yourself. It's not about the speed, it's about the direction, right? You may be going very fast into something, but if it's not headed to the way you want it to be, then you're going to sacrifice ultimately your happiness, and you're going to literally be putting your ladder on the wrong wall, as the saying goes, right? You want to put your ladder on the right wall so that everything you're building step by step is actually taking you in the direction that you want it to. So ask yourself these questions, what excites me about what I'm doing right now? What makes me feel joy, fulfillment? How do people respond to my work? How do people react to my work? Sometimes we can struggle with seeing the value of our work simply because we're not putting enough time in analyzing the effect that our work has on people and really gathering some examples of how people have responded to our work, how people have commented about what they can experience, what they feel after interacting with us. So asking yourself these important questions, do people around you show you any signs that what you're doing is helping them? Even if there are some things that you may do for free, you may not yet be monetizing your full, breadth of skills, which happens so much, especially if you've been focusing primarily on developing one side of your artistry, one side of your career, like mainly teaching or mainly performing or mainly doing these other things. Maybe there are things about your knowledge and skills that you've been just offering very casually, and yet people have thanked you. People have said, wow, this was so helpful. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for sharing this insight. Thank you for transferring this expertise. It's been so helpful, right? So whether you're actually charging for these things or not, just ask yourself, what makes you feel joy? What makes you feel joy when you wake up in the morning? What gets you excited to know that you get to do in your day? Even if you're not able to do it fully yet, it's getting that picture clear in your mind. Because once you define what feels fulfilling and meaningful and joyful for you, you'll then be able to start putting the elements in place and finding the necessary tools, resources, guides, everything that you're going to need to execute on that vision. But the problem is most of the times we let our own cluttered existence and overwhelm and overload of information, all those things can clutter our view, our vision of what we actually want, what we actually really want to do. And therefore, we just go on and on and on, day in and day out, following some sort of a momentum that over time is going to erode our progress because it's not the right momentum, right? So ask yourself, what makes you feel happy? If you can envision your perfect day, what would that look like? And I know it feels like a pie in the sky exercise, but believe me, the more you can spend time envisioning what happiness looks like in the way you work and the way you serve. What are some examples of anecdotes of testimonials of things that people have shared from being in your world? And then how could you create more ways for people to access that? Then that's going to be such an incredible avenue for you to find that sense of peace and happiness and purpose, so that even there, if the world around us is falling apart, even if there's chaos, even if there are wars, even if there's a pandemic or political unrest or violence or whatever it is, you have a way to say, I may not be able to fix everything, but I can show up in a way that is here to serve. And I do have a way of making the world a better place. I can help people. I know things. I have a perspective. I have a lens and an intentionality that is going to help people in one way or another. And the more you can focus on that and realize that those gifts that you've been given, those skills are intentional. They're here for you to share them, for you to transfer them, not for you to hold on to them and to think that they're not valid, but instead to ask yourself, how could I bring this in a more intentional way? How could I find the meaning behind these skills? Why did I have to sometimes go through pain and problems and have to overcome these things so that I could learn painful lessons that I could share with others to shorten their learning curve and help them avoid pain? Why? Why is that part of my destiny? And believe me, the more you look into it, the more you're going to realize, yes, this is my way of contributing to the world. This is my way of making the world a better place, one person at a time. So I hope this podcast episode gives you some inspiration, some comfort. Maybe by the time you're listening to this, in fact, there is a lot of chaos going on in the world, and you may be wondering, what is your role in this? How do you go on? How do you move on? Hopefully these tools, these exercises, these prompts will help you navigate these important decisions and help you stay the course. Obviously, there's moments where you want to stop and you want to reflect and you want to pause, push the brakes, and obviously that's fine, but it is important that you always have a way of getting back on track. Even if you decide to pause, to take a step back, to reflect, it's important that you have tools that will allow you to come back to who you are and help you stay in the momentum and come back to what you're meant to do, which is to share your gifts with the world through your students, through your audience, through the clients you work with, anyone that is lucky enough to encounter you, not only your skills, but also your presence, your own sense of being. The final thought I'll share is that the most important way in which you can help others and feel meaningful and purposeful is seeing the value that your perspective brings to the world, not just your skills. You can contribute through your skills. Yes, of course, you may know things, you may be very good at things, but at the end of the day, what helps people connect with you is your values, is your lens, is your perspective. Chances are you're not the only one that does what you do. There are other people that do it just as well. But what makes you unique is that no one has your story. No one has gone through what you've gone through. No one has had to learn the lessons in the exact same way that you have. Therefore, every interaction that you have will be informed by that lens, by that perspective. And that essence, that being that you bring to what you do is what's going to ultimately help you stand out, create a name for yourself, make an impact, and help and serve at an even greater level. So love yourself, recognize that you are amazing. You have so much to offer. And even though you may not be able to fix everything around you, you have so much that you can still do one person at a time. So go for it. Don't give up. Until next time, let's prosper together.